And most apes don't have whites in their eyes.
What if they look really far to the left? Fire in the hole!
They do if they turn to the side. It's deep in there, but...
Welcome back everyone to Project Nihilist. In this video we're going to talk about Australopithecus afarensis, and I'm going to pretend you don't have a clue what I'm talking about. This YouTube channel called Grace Presbyterian Church has about 17 hours of lecturing to a crowd, teaching them anti-science denying techniques. Dude's name might actually be Mark Tew, with an E. Get ready for some mental gymnastics and intravenous copium abuse. Roll the tape.
First time, pig made a monkey out of a man. So what's the real Nebraska man? Right there. So yet another fraud.
We're going to skip Mark strawmanning all of science as if its mistakes are now doctrine, and you can't trust any of it. He also plagiarizes these Facebook videos that are all from the same place and thinks they are compelling. The truth is, science and religion just don't mix. It's anointing oil and water. Let's skip what John and Jane have to say and get into Mark Tew.
Now let's talk about Lucy. Australopithecus afarensis.
Dude, it's super easy. Australopithecus afarensis.
Discovered by Donald Johansen in Ethiopia in 1974. And those are the actual bones they found from Lucy. It was scattered across the big area. They dated her to be 3 million years old. About 40% complete, lacking nearly all foot and hand bones. Those are key.
Bones, dancing bones.
Because they make Lucy look human, but there were no foot and hand bones found. The skull and jaw primitive by ape standards. Knee joint has high carrying angle.
The leg bone's connected to the knee bone.
London's Natural Museum, History Museum, that's a picture of Lucy. Notice her hands and her feet are human-like. She's standing up straight up.
Doing the skeleton dance.
Upright posture, human-like. Face is ape-like. But many evolutionists believe that this is an accurate depiction of Lucy.
Well, no shit, Sherlock. It's a diorama. It's not meant to be perfect. It's just an artist representation of what she may have looked like.
Now let's go to the Chicago Field Museum in the U.S. Notice the following. Lucy has more of an eyebrow ridge, more robust. Hands and feet are human-like, upright posture like a human, and a face like an ape. And here's a picture of Lucy in the St. Louis Zoo in their Living World exhibit. And some of the features, trunks, breasts, and genitalia.
Yeah, dude, it's definitely a mammal, a female mammal who would have lactated, gave live birth, had sexual intercourse. Are you confused?
Arms and hands, legs and feet all look human-like. Upright posture and showing a little gait.
Mark just listed off a bunch of features that people have in common with chimps and bonobos, gorillas, orangutans. I mean, even their heads are basically the same. Ears, nose, throat, brain, lips, hair. It's nothing more than a distinction with barely any difference.
Obviously, with the left foot forward, she had model training.
Maybe I missed the joke or something, but isn't that her right foot forward?
That's what it's all about.
And she knows to point the toe forward to extend the leg.
It's an articulated skeleton in an upright position. What else was she supposed to do? Walk fucking backwards?
Do you ever see an ape with legs like that?
Oh, special plead me all night long. What blows my mind, Dr. Brennan, is how you think you know more about bones than the experts. And get off your high horse. Show some humility.
Wipe off that angel face. Go back to high school.
So let's zoom into the head. the human-like features. Notice they put a pensive gaze on Lucy. Appears like she's thinking.
I mean, as if monkeys don't think. I guess you could have made her look like she was taking a shit or laughing at herself farting.
Like, did I blow out the fire before I left the cave? Whites in the eyes. You know how hard it is to find whites or sclera in the fossil record with eyeballs?
Not till we see the white of its eyes.
They're mostly pupil, very little white, almost none.
You can't actually be this dumb. It was probably easier for them to ask for human eyeballs that are pre-made rather than like go through some crazy ass process of manufacturing some Lucy balls.
Can I give you a tip? Oh, yes. You're not his type.
You don't see it. And most apes don't have whites in their eyes.
What if they look really far to the left? Fire in the hole!
They do if they turn to the side. It's deep in there, but most apes, this is an artist's interpretation. So putting more white in the eye makes it look human. Finger bones are straight and will show that that wasn't the fact. Whole hand is clearly human-like, where she could play a piano or a guitar.
'Cause you're a sky full of stars.
That's my boy.
In fact, the evidence shows the curvature of Lucy's fingers were that of a knuckle walker, where they have long fingers and they can lock their knuckles so they could walk on all fours.
I grew up running on all fours. It changed the bone structure.
Yeah, I just don't think that's the consensus. I mean, Lucy walked around on the ground, but she probably spent some of her time in trees. She didn't walk around on her knuckles, though, and we'll get into that later on.
So the science says she was a knuckle walker. And this is what came out of Science News April 8th, 2000.
Mark, that's not science news. That's an exhibit at the Ark Encounter. You know, that Noah's Ark answers in Genesis bullshit. Straight up lie. The place where you can go look at that literally has a disclaimer at the entrance about artistic license and how they basically bullshit you the whole way through and you can't hold them responsible.
Lucy on the ground with knuckles. Lucy had wrists capable of locking the hands in place during knuckle walking.
Dude, earlier you said they didn't find any of Lucy's hands or wrist bones. So how do you know that Lucy was a knuckle walker?
And here's another creation.com on Lucy the knuckle walker.
If you have ever tried to knuckle walk on all fours like a gorilla, you'd soon realize that it's difficult to do. But some apes do this with ease, partly because they have specialized wrist joints, which we don't have. Australopithecus afarensis, also known as Lucy, is an ape-like creature that some claim is our ancestor. Evolutionary books show pictures of Lucy walking upright, so you wouldn't expect her to have knuckle-walking wrist joints. But recently, scientists were shocked to discover this wrist joint structure in Lucy's kind. According to one of the researchers, I walked over to the cabinet, pulled out Lucy, and shazam! She had the morphology that was classic for knuckle walkers. If Lucy really is our ancestor who walked upright, why does her wrist anatomy suggest she walked on all fours?
Everything Mark cites and plays are fallacious appeals to authority. Creation Science Institute, answers in Genesis, fake news science journals. They're all bullshit propaganda intended to deceive science illiterate people into believing some old book. I'm going to play a short clip from a real scientist whose motivation is based in reality and destroys Mark's knuckle-walking theory. I'll leave a link to the full video. Check it out.
As everyone here hopefully knows, the foramen magnum is the hole at the base of the skull, and the position and angle of the foramen magnum can tell us a lot about the locomotion of the animal in question. In humans, the foramen magnum, which is of course where the spinal cord exits the skull, is both positioned anteriorly or more forward towards the face, and it's also angled that way. In the case of a chimpanzee, the foramen magnum is somewhat anterior, at least compared to something like a monkey, but it's more posterior or facing towards the back than in the case of Homo sapiens. It's also angled backward. If I take my finger comes out at a backwards angle, and the occipital condyles mirror this as well. In the case of Australopithecus afarensis, which is Lucy's species, the foramen magnum is anterior and angled forward. When I take my finger, it comes out at a forward angle, more forward angle at least than what we see in chimpanzees, indicating that the skull sat on top of the vertebral column, allowing for bipedal locomotion.
In other words, if Lucy had been a knuckle walker, she would have been staring at the ground most of the time, have difficulty scanning the horizon, and not be able to look up at all.
It just does not add up.
So this is Lucy's human foot at the St. Louis Zoo.
Nope, that's just another example of artistic license.
Other than the excess hair, that foot looks very human.
Wow, just another perfect example of why you are so dumb, thinking that you can look at a fucking hairy foot and know how it was articulated.
But when they looked at other Australopithecus afarensis,
it's really easy. You only have to say it a couple times. Australopithecus afarensis.
Well, Mary Leakey in 1972 in Tanzania discovered these footprints.
He's literally going to go with the example of, look at these footprints that don't have any knuckle dragon marks.
Mind if I shoot up here? Hey, mi casa, su casa.
They dated it 4 million years old, but the trail went 73 feet long, consisting of 20 larger human footprints and 27 smaller human footprints. And you can see in the image up there. So we have human footprints in the same area where they found Lucy's bones.
Go ahead, get you another blast of copium, Mark. Well, they can't be Lucy's footprints. There are no knuckle marks, therefore they gotta be the humans.
So they figured, well, Lucy must have been walking, because you can't have a human that old. So we have to put Lucy walking, making those footprints. But if you look at it, there's big toe in line with the foot, small toes cling to the ground, well-developed arch, weight carried from heel to side of foot. That imprint looks like a human.
Fatality. Rambo wins.
Not really. That's actually a perfect example of an argument from incredulity. It looks human, and therefore is human because me book says a thing.
If you ever saw the foot of an ape, I have it here.
Oh, there you go.
It's up here on the upper right. An ape has a great big toe, so they can grab hold of the tree. So an ape can't walk like that.
So what Mark did here is a common creationist tactic or error. He might as well have said, if people came from monkeys, why are there still monkeys around? They dread the thought that we're soulless apes who sometimes chuck our crap at people or leave revenge dumps on Johnny Depp's bed.
And William Howlers from Harvard said, Russell Tuttle of the University of Chicago, leading expert on hominoid gaits and limbs, finds that all aspects of the footprints, especially toe proportions, are remarkably like modern human feet.
Just a shameless plug here. I was at McDonald's yesterday and I recorded this shit.
I'm
tired of this shit. This fucking place is fucking going to hell. You suck.
Have a nice day.
Fuck yourself.
I'm loving it.
And that the afar feet are scientifically less than human. Also, the last thing I want to cover on Lucy is the pelvis. A chimp pelvis is sprayed out. A human pelvis has like curves. That way we can stand erect.
And that's exactly how it happened.
You see? You believe it now?
Well, yeah, sure. Why would he make that up?
Dum 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 dum.
Here is a video I'm going to play on Lucy's pelvis is wrong.
Dum 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 dum.
And you'll find out what they tried to do to make it fit to look human. I'll play this, I think it goes 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not going to put you through all of that. Skip.
So you see they were broken and they don't fit together properly. They did speculate in the program as to exactly who was responsible for breaking the hip, and current scientific evidence suggests perhaps a deer stepped on it.
1 million, zillion, jillion, dillion, cotillion times later. He cut the damaged pieces out and put them back together the way they were before Lucy died. It was a tricky job, but after taking the kink out of the pelvis, it all fit together perfectly, like a three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle.
Look how perfect. You can read a newspaper through the hole.
As a result, the angle of the hip looks nothing like a chimp's, but a lot like ours.
One of these days, you idiots are gonna laugh yourselves to death!
Yeah, now, this is what we call science. You can teach this in the public schools, but you can't criticize it, because if you do, that would be religious.
Okay, so you can see what extent they go to make their theory true.
I apologize.
Shut the fuck up!
If somehow you made it this far, I apologize. I didn't mean for this video to be this long, but let me know what you think in the comments. Do all that free shit that helps my channel out, because this shit takes a lot of time to make, believe it or not. Imagine what those great channels, how long it takes for those people to make their shit.